Okay, we'll get going. Oh, terrific, gentlemen! Everybody, welcome to pre-Lag Bomer special with the Mashgiach, Rabbi Feldman, Rabbi Falk, Rabbi Slavin. A big shkoyach to the Mashgiach, shkoyach to Joey after Psachia for making this happen, and all you guys, of course. We have the great exclusive have Rabbi Feldman to give us some divrei chizik as we come to the Gewaltik Yom Tov of Lag Bomer. Rabbi Feldman.
Good evening, everybody. Shalom Aleichem. Very exciting to get a chance to spend time with all of you. I'd like to speak about what I think is a timely message for these days. Maybe not what you would have expected to hear now for Lag Bomer, but nonetheless, something that's very important to and very pertinent to our times. One of the things that the Arizal says when he discusses Lag Bomer is he says that there's a gilui on the day of Lag Bomer of a particular Shem that is merumiz in the pasuk of Bitchu Bashem Adei Ad. Bitchu Bashem Adei Ad. And it would seem that the day of Lag Bomer is a day in Pnimius that can arouse bitochen in a person. And being that today, for those of you in America, Tez Zayin Iyar is the day of Nefilas Hamon. The Mon fell on Tez Zayin Iyar. The Mon, the Yidden didn't know what the Mon was. They turned to each other and they said, Monhu. And Monhu is the letters Emunah. So Mamela, these are days that are particularly strategic to work on our emunah, to work on our bitochen. It happens to be that this week also on Wednesday is the Yortzeit of Remendel Meriminov. That Remendel lived for over 20 years. He would speak by Shalashudis. Every Shalashudis, he spoke about the Parashas Hamon, because he understood how important it was to strengthen the Yidden, strengthen the Jews of the time who were destitute, and to teach them about the lessons that we learned from the Mon. So let's begin with just quoting a simple Mishnah Berurah, that the Mishnah Berurah on the words of the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Aleph. The Mishnah Berurah says, the Shulchan Aruch says, Toiv loima Parshas Hamon. It's good to say Parshas Hamon. And the Mishnah Berurah says that if you say Parshas Hamon, he brings from Yerushalmi, the Yerushalmi that's difficult to find. Nobody knows exactly where the Yerushalmi is. But nonetheless, the Yerushalmi says that anybody that says Parshas Hamon every single day, Muftach loy sheyeloi cheser loy mezonoiso. He won't be missing ever mezonis. Actually, the Iker Zgula is to say Shnayim Mikra V'Echad Targum. So it says in Rabbeinu Bechaya and in Rabbeinu Tam. So those of you that want the school of it, you probably have to say it every day. But even those of you that maybe don't have the time or feel that you have other things that are more important, but I think that every time I know that when I learn the Parashas Hamon, and I try all the time to read it once a week or so, because I see how much bitochen it instills in me, so much bitochen, so much emunah. The kesher with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, just to remind myself that we get it from Hashem. The food comes down from Hashem. Like it says, Kadei Sheyamin, the Mishnah Berurah brings, Kadei Sheyamin, Shekol Mazonoisav Boin Ba'ashgocha, Protis, Lahoirois, She'ein Ribui Ha'ishtadlis Moyel Ma'uma. You work and work and work. You think you're going to work more and you're going to have more. Not necessarily so. So even if you don't say it every day, so maybe you won't have the segula, but to instill in yourself the strength of Parshas Hamon, as often as you could say it and learn it and understand it and turn it around and around till you understand it to the best possible way, So that's going to strengthen us in our bitochen and our emunah. The Zohar HaKodesh, the same Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The Gemara says in Masechta Yuma, Daf Ayin Hey, that why did the man fall every day? The man fell every day. HaKadosh Baruch Hu could have bought man once a year, and there would have been, he could have made that it should have lasted for a year. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that every day we should turn to him and keep that kesher warm, to keep the kesher, to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu day in, day out. And that's why the Zohar HaKodesh says that a person has to daven every day for parnasa. Even a person that has lots and lots of money, but you must daven for parnasa. Maybe you've noticed that in Shema Koleinu, in many Sidurim, there's a tefillah on parnasa, Atahu Hashem Elokim, Hazonu Mefarnes Mechalkel, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mefarnes from the greatest creatures to the tiniest lice, Ad Beitzei Chinim, to the eggs of lice. And the Zohar HaKodesh says that you have to every single day daven and ask for parnasa. Doesn't make a difference how much you have. And only then, in fact, the Zohar HaKodesh seems to suggest, to expect, that a person shouldn't cook from today till tomorrow, only on Friday for Shabbos. But any other day, we don't prepare food for today for tomorrow. Today's today, tomorrow's tomorrow. Every day is special. Every day, you turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then after that, you go and eat. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has sent the food for the day. There's an amazing pasuk in Mishlei. The pasuk says, "Tzadik oichel l'soiva nafshoi, ubeten rishoim techsar." Tzadik oichel l'soiva nafshoi. A tzadik eats. He eats what he needs. L'soiva nafshoi. Others explain l'soiva nafshoi means after he learns. This is what the Zohar HaKodesh says. After he learns Torah, and after he davens, then he's full already. Tzadik oichel l'soiva nafshoi. Ubeten rishoim techsar. What does that mean? Beten, the stomach of rishoim is missing. So the Goin says, the Golden Goin, that the Rasha, he doesn't have enough stomach. He wants to eat so much, but he's got no stomach to put it in. Ubeten rishoim techsar. The beten of rishoim is missing. He wants to eat, but he has nowhere to put it. It reminds me of a story of a young child. I'll tell you later who the child was, who his father and mother treated him about 45 years ago, 48 years ago, and they took him to the Grossinger's Hotel. In those days, the Grossinger's Hotel, for us old timers that are here, I see a couple of smiles. Those of us that know, that was the place to go in those days, the Grossinger's. So I come to the dining room. Oh, I just gave it away, shucks. It was me. So I come to the dining room. I was an 11-year-old kid that had eyes the size of Mount Everest. And the waiter comes over and he says, the special of the day is filet mignon. So right away, I say, bring me 2. So my parents were looking at, and he says, are you sure you want 2? The waiter says, I don't know if you know what we're talking about. I mean, this was huge. And I said, yeah, I want 2. I want 2. So the guy comes out with 2, and we all cracked up. You know, like, I remember there was a kid in Neveh, actually, that reminds me. There was a kid in Neveh that once took me out for a steak. He got me the 200 gram, and he was a little rumpy kid, actually. And he wanted to see if he could eat a 600 gram steak. But it was really rough for him. And you know why? Because beten rishoim techsar. There's no beten. You need to have a beten. But tzaddik don't have those problems. Tzaddik oichel l'soiva nafshoi. You know, the man fell, and the man had Kan Gan Eden, the Zohar says. And then there were these stupid Rishonim that they went, Shatu ha'am v'loktu. They went and they collected it, v'tochnu be'echayim, v'dochu b'madoicha. They ground it and they chopped it. Ubishlu bapor. Stupid people. You have Tam Gan Eden. What are you guys, crazy? Mishuga and Cup. You're just looking for extra work. The Lashon of the Zohar Kodesh is just fascinating. Lashon, just bear with me one moment. Those that don't believe in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they don't want to look in his way. So they stam go, and every day they're running after food. Your mama v'leila. Why? Because they don't have betochen. They don't have emunah. And I saw a fascinating Chizkuni. The Chizkuni says, we know that there was a Mekoshish. The Mekoshish was a fellow that did malacha on Shabbos. What did the Mekoshish do? He chopped eitzim. He chopped wood. What did he need wood for? What do you need wood for in the midbar? You know what he needed wood for? Because he used to cook his mom. So he cooked his mom because it wasn't good for him, the Tam Gan Eden. He has to make more ishtadlus, to work on his parnasa, to work on his food. So he cooked them on. So because he cooked them on, it brought him to Hilul Shabbos. Shem Yirachim. Because tzaddik doesn't have these problems. He eats a little bit, he's satisfied, it's good. But the Russia, more and more and more and more and more. And he thinks he's going to work harder and it's going to be better. It's not going to be better. Life is not all about lechem. It's not all about lechem, the Tzav Tzeiva says. When we eat because there's ore. There's a certain heavenly light in the food. Do you think if you work harder, you're going to get more of that ore? You're going to get more of the Moitza Pi Hashem? I just want to end with an idea that I, many years ago, stumbled upon. At the end of the Parashat Samon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands Moshe Rabbeinu to take a tzintzenes, to take a flask to put in mon. And this is called a tzintzenes. Tzintzenes is a flask. Rashi says that it was made out of cheres. It was made from clay, porcelain. Why is it so crucial for me to know that it's made out of cheres? It seems to be unimportant. And that cheres, that kli, was taken, and Aaron HaKohen went and he put it in the Kodesh HaKadoshim next to the Oren. And by the way, the Oren was nignaz. The Oren was hidden, and we still have the Oren. We don't know where it is, but it's hidden. And together with the Oren was nignaz, the Tzintzenes Hamon. And 1,000 years later came along the Jews and they said to Yirmiyahu, Rebbeinu Shalayla, we don't have parnasa. And Yirmiyahu went to the Beis HaMikdash and he took out the tzintzenes and he showed that the tzintzenes that Moshe Rabbeinu had prepared 1,000 years before was still fresh mon. So he said the same HaKadosh Baruch Hu that took care of the Yidden in the Midbar, he's going to take care of you and you're going to have parnasa as well. So again, back to the Rashi. Rashi says that tzintzenes is a kli cheres. What does it make a difference if it's a kli cheres or not? So the Maharal says that a tzintzenes, cheres, clay, that is the type of material that keeps cold the contents as best as could be. In other words, if it would have been wood or glass, it wouldn't have kept it cold, it wouldn't have kept it fresh. So the Maharal says. So it was made out of cheres. But the question arises, I ask you all, and tell me, and if you put it in cheres, that's going to make it last for 1,000 years. You could put the same Rebbeinu Shalaylam that can make it last in cheres, is going to make it last in wood, in glass. What does it make a difference? Anyway, you need a tremendous, tremendous nest for the mon to last over 1,000 years. But here we see the lesson of the true ishtadlus, what true ishtadlus is all about. When it comes to parnosa, I have to be mishtadel. I have to do the best I can do. If I have to put away the mon, I'm going to put it in the best flask that I could possibly put it into. I'm going to get cheres. Now, do I think for a moment that it's my putting it into a kli cheres, that that's what's keeping the mon preserved? Are you kidding? You got to be a fool. Of course it's the Rebbeinu Shalom. My ishtadlus doesn't do anything. It's all by Olam. Nonetheless, I do ishtadlus. Well, knowing full well that it's not the ishtadlus that it's going to accomplish it. It's only the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to last for 1,000 years. When we're mishtadl as well, we have to go to work. We have to do what we have to do. But let's remember, tzaddik oichel, soiva nafshoy. Tzaddik oichel, you eat what you need, right? You don't eat what you don't need. Better Rishoim Techsav. Rishoim Achmona Litzlan. Neveh. And to those people that overwork, the mon screams at them. Better Rishoim Techsav. In these difficult days, and there's so many people that have been affected by the lockdowns, everybody in whichever way, but we have to remember everything is Borei Olam. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu took everything into account before he brought this virus to the world. And every economic fall of every person is all calculated. And the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to take care of us. And there's life after COVID-19, B'yetz Hashem. And we're going to persevere, Bezrat Hashem. But we have to instill in ourselves the lessons of the Mon. The Mon has so much to teach. And if you open up the parasha and you read it and you learn it, I think that you'll come out a better person and more strengthened and be able to face the tests that HaKadosh Baruch Hu puts in front of us. That, together with a little chayvus halvavos, I think is all that we need in order to stay healthy in these difficult times. I want to wish everybody well, and I want to reach out to everybody. Please reach out to me when, anybody that has questions or whatever. Joey will put up my information. And it was great getting a chance to spend time with you. I understand that this session was Mukdash, was sponsored by Shmuley Fuchs in honor of all the Neveh Rebbeim. I certainly cheer on also the Neveh Rebbeim. And B'yetz Hashem, we should hear good news for many happy and healthy years to come.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Feldman. That was a severe, I think we all got satiated, but not just the tipa, we need more. But a little bit of a severe. We also want to thank, I also was one person, want to thank Shmuley. There was already a post about how do we sponsor. So we'll putting that link up as we go. Before I introduce Rabbi Falk, I just want to take 1 minute because I can do something over here that I don't think anybody else can do. As we're celebrating pre-Meron, so I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a view. This is the camera over is facing the light straight out there of the Meron. Rabbi Shimon, Mr. Shem, that should be the, right there. That's the site, Rabbi Shimon. That's Rabbi Shem. We should all be able to go over there. Rabbi Shimon. Okay, I figured that was like something I can do over here in Tzfas that the Olam may not be able to do elsewhere. Anyway, thank you very much, Rabbi Feldman. Again, the contact information is there. And thank you, Shmuley. Not going to waste any time. Hopefully, Rabbi Falk is ready to roll, give us the inspiration. And, okay, I see it was already posted. Thank you very much, Joey. Already posted. If somebody wants to sponsor, that would be fantastic. And also, David asked, we want to get it out there, get some Neveh guys coming in. So get more of a group coming and listening. Rabbi Falk, please, we're ready for you.
Yes, Yeshikoyach. Yishkoich Rabbi Feldman. Yishkoich to all those who are sponsoring. I had a moifes of Rabbi Shimon Mamish today. I'm in my house. I don't have internet. I piggyback on my mother-in-law's internet, and it doesn't really work that well. So people have been complaining that I speak and it's not in sync and they're not hearing me. So I didn't know what to do. I was maybe going to go up to the yeshiva. All of a sudden, somebody walks into my house with a smartphone. He bought it because I needed to make a deposit in a bank. He brings it to me. I go, do you have Zoom? He goes, sure, he has Zoom, no problem. So unbelievable. Reb Shimon sent me a smartphone. I think Mamish B'schus Neveh Tzion. So I hope that you'll be able to hear and see. It's a big schus to speak to you guys. Everybody knows it's Sfiras HaOmer. One of the reasons is brought down from the Rishonim. What Sfiras HaOmer is all about is that we're counting down to Kabbalah Satira. We're preparing for Shavuos. We're counting the 49 days till Shavuos. The Chinuch says we're so excited that we can't wait and we count. So it's always very strange that we're counting, and that we should be counting down. 49 days left, 48 days. But for some reason, we're counting up. Today is 1 day in the Yom, 2 days in the Yom. So I think the chat is very simple. The reason why we count up is because we're not just sitting idly waiting for Kabbalah Satorah to come, but every single day we're working and we're trying to prepare ourselves, and each day is a new kinyan. So each day, Baruch Hashem, I have 1 day. I did something. I'm closer. I have 2 days under my belt. But it's all about preparing for Kabbalah Satorah. Now the Ramban, it should be very, very happy days, and it's first Ayman should be Gabaldik. We're mamish getting ready for Kabbalah Satorah. It's Gishmak, and then the Ramban in this week's parsha says even a fascinating thing. He says that the time of Sfiras HaOmer, the 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuos, it is like Chol HaMoyed, like Sukkot has a Chol HaMoyed, Pesach has a Chol HaMoyed. There's a Chol HaMoyed in between Pesach and Shavuos. So these days of Sfiras HaOmer are Chol HaMoyed. It's Mamish Yontif. They should be Mamish Gabaldik happy days. It's always bothered me. Sfiras HaOmer is a time of Avelis. It's such a sad, it seems like it's a sad time. It's such a difficult time. It's such a dark time that all the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva were killed. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu drop this on us during Sfiras HaOmer? Sfiras HaOmer is Chol HaMoyed. Sfiras HaOmer is preparing for Kabbalah Satorah. They should be such wonderful days, such exciting days. Besides that, Rabbi say there's another Pella in Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is a big simcha. What's the simcha? That Baruch Hashem, after the passing of 24,000 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, on Lag BaOmer, they stopped to die. Chazdei Hashem, they stopped to die. It's a big simcha. So therefore we stop the mourning. Ribono shel Olam, why did his Talmidim stop to die? Because they were all dead. They had all died. What kind of a simcha is that? Oh, Givaldik, no one's dying. There's no one left. It's crazy. There's a beautiful sefer by Reb Avram Shur, the son of Reb Gedalia Shur. Reb Avram Shur has a sefer called the Lekach V'Halibuf. He says they're a fascinating thing. He quotes the Tur in Siman Tov Chof Ches. The Tur says a very strange thing in Tov Chof Ches. He says the day of the week that Purim comes out will be the same exact day of the week as the 6th day of Pesach. And it will be the exact same day of the week as Lag BaOmer. Purim, the 6th day of Pesach, and Lag BaOmer will always come out on exactly the same day. You look this year, Purim came out Monday night, Tuesday. The 6th day of Pesach came out Monday night, Tuesday, and Lag BaOmer is coming out Monday night, Tuesday. What is the connection between Purim, the 6th day of Pesach Dafka, and Lag BaOmer? So Rabbi say, if you look and you stop and you think, you'll see that those 3 days were days when Klal Yisrael were on the verge of terrible churban. By Purim, Haman Agosha, Bikesh, Lahashmid, La'arog, La'abed, to destroy all of Klal Yisrael was on Purim. On the 6th day of Pesach, it was the day before Kriyas Yamsuf. Bnei Yisrael had left Egypt. They reached the Yam. The Yam was blocking them from going further. The Mitzrim were running after them. The Mitzrim had reached them. And they were standing by the Yam. And it was a Pachet Neira. Yam in front of them, the Mitzrim behind them. There was a terrible kitrug on Klal Yisrael. Halalu Avodah Zarah. And then Baruch Hashem, just like by Purim, Mordechai Yehudi led the Jews, and Baruch Hashem, they rose up, and they were saved through their emunah and their bitachon. Likewise, on the 6th day, they got out of it. And by Kriyas Yamsuf, Nachshon ben Aminodov went into the Yam split, but they were on the verge of destruction. Rabbi Lag Ba'omer was a day when 24,000 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, they stopped to die. They had all been wiped out. The Hemshech of Torah, the Messiah of Torah, Chas v'Sholom, was on the verge of collapse. The Gemara says in Yevamos, Pachet B'chodim, the Gemara says, it says that the world was shomem, was desolate. What was going to be everything that Rabbi Akiva had done, everything that he had built for 24 years, 24,000 Talmidim, the Meisrei HaTorah, they were gone, they were destroyed. His whole life's work was gone and destroyed. It was a matzov, the world was shomim, chorban. And Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Akiva didn't give up. Rabbi Akiva, from the ashes, there was nothing left. He went down to the Durham, he went south, and he found 5 Talmidim, 5 Gewaldige Talmidim. And he rebuilt Torah from those 5 Talmidim. He found Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Lozer ben Shamua. And he built from scratch Torah for Klal Yisrael. And the Torah that we have today is from those 5 Talmidim. If he had Chas v'Sholem given up, if he had Chas v'Sholem had been broken, we wouldn't have that Torah today. His Gewaldige Talmid, Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, says in the Gemara Megillah, all of Kabbalah that we have, the Zohar, all from Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. He says, Tanya Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Bo Ure Kamo Chavivim Yisrael Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Take a look and see how beloved Klal Yisrael is before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shekol Mokom Shegolu, wherever we went into exile, whenever we were in difficult straits. Golo HaKadosh Baruch Hu Imoem. Golu LeMitzrayim, Shechina Imoem. The Shechina went with us. Galu leBavel, Shechina Imoem. The Avkesh in Asidim Li Goyel, and in the last Galus, and the Geula that Mir Hashem will come. Shechina Imoem. Shenemar v'shov Hashem Elokecho et Shavuscha. V'hoshev lo nemar. It doesn't say to go that he brings us back. V'shov melamed shakadosh baruch hu shov imoem. He says he will come back with us. At the worst times, at the darkest times, that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu was closest to Klal Yisrael. That's when the greatest love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu manifests itself in the darkest of times. He never leaves us alone. This is what Shimon Bar Yochai said. It says in Tehillim, David HaMelech said, Af gam zois omdali. Which Torah stuck with me forever Which Torah had the greatest impact on David HaMelech? The Torah that I had to suffer from, the Torah in the dark times, the Torah when I had the greatest sorrows, and still I learned. That was the Torah Shamdali. Kabbalah HaTorah doesn't come easy. Kabbalah HaTorah comes because we stick with it and we fight and we persevere. And no matter how difficult times are, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us. And that shows the Gewaldige Chabivus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's the Meirid Maisa with the Panovich Rav. The Panovich Rav lost his whole family in the Holocaust. He had one son who survived. The Panovich Rav came to Eretz Yisrael. He went to Bnei Brak. He started to try to build up Torah. He bought a big piece of land up on a mountain, and he said he's building a big yeshiva there, and people realized that he had flipped out, that the Holocaust had gotten to him. And he wouldn't give up. He's going to rebuild the great Panovich Yeshiva. And he never gave up, and he was never misyayish. In 1966, the Panovich Rav was invited to a Chanukas Habayis of a shul in a moshav called Yisodot in Eretz Yisrael. And this moshav was established 20 years previously by a group of Holocaust survivors who were remnants of the terrible Holocaust. They came to Eretz Yisrael and they built a moshav. They tried to rebuild their families. And now they were making a Chanukas Habayis of their shul. They had finally, Baruch Hashem, gotten together the funds, and they were able to build a nice shul. And they asked the Panovich Rav to come to speak for them. The Panovich Rav came. He also himself a survivor. And he got up. It was Hanukkah time. And he got up and he said to them, Rabbis, I have a Gavaldical question. I don't understand. We say Al Anisim. We thank Hashem for the miracles. Al Anisim, Vala Porkon, Vala Gvugois, Vala Chishuais. You're saving us. You're redeeming us. The great victories. The Al HaMilchamos. And we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for the wars. The Jewish people don't want wars. We don't want milchamas. We would rather not have any milchamas and not have any tzaras, and everything should be good. Why in the world do we thank the Panovich Rav said, what are we thanking Hashem for our milchamas? The Panovich Rav said, Rabbi Isai, as long as the world is not shalom, the world is not perfected, there's still a lack of kedusha. There are milchamas that we have to fight. And we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that no matter what happens to us, no matter how difficult the situation is, no matter how much Al Pi Derech HaTeva it looks like there's no hope, there's not a chance in the world, but we keep fighting. We never give up. We thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that koyach, for that strength that He gives us to fight on and on and on and never give up. And we grow from every battle, and we grow stronger from every challenge that we meet. That's the way of Yiddish people. We don't give up. Rabbi Isai Neveh Zion goes every year to Poland. We go to Auschwitz, and we always get into trouble in Auschwitz. The first time I went to Auschwitz, Rabbi Prager almost got me arrested. Because in Auschwitz, in the darkest places in the camps, in the crematoriums, you have to be quiet, silence, because you have to show respect to the dead, because it's a place of darkness, of destruction, of no hope, of the cruelty of humanity. It's the end of the line, and you have to be silent, quiet. And we go in, and we're not silent. Rabbi Prager comes over, he says, Rabbi Falk, we're saying Tehillim now. We start saying Tehillim. Then we sing Ani Mamin. The first time I was there, 2 guards met me outside. They wanted to arrest me because I was not being silent and showing respect. Rabbi Isai, in the darkest of places, the biggest nisyonos that we have, the greatest challenges that we have to meet, we grow from them. We're not silent. We get up and we fight and we continue. And that's exactly what Rabbi Akiva did on Lag BaOmer. The Chidah said the day that Rabbi Akiva went out and looked for those 5 new Talmidim, that was Lag BaOmer. And that was the beginning of the rebuilding of all of Torah. All of the tsaris that we had before, all the 24,000 that had died, they're all Kedoshim. They didn't die in vain. Shelo nogu kavod zeh b'zeh. They weren't lefi madregorsam. The Kodesh Baruch Hu had a tefillah. But all the Kedoshim in the camps, all the Kedoshim that have died on Mesiras Nefesh, Al Kiddush Hashem, none of them have died in vain. Every year that's contributed to the binyan of Klal Yisrael, and we stand on their shoulders. And we will also not stop fighting. And we will not give up. And we will learn from this Gavaldik day of Lag BaOmer, where the world was shomem, was desolate. There was no hope. Rabbi Akiva didn't give up. Rabbi Akiva rebuilt. And the Rabbi Sai, I believe that that's why Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us this Avelis during Sfiras HaOmer. Because the hachana for Kabbalah Satira is to realize that even when it's dark, and even when it's hard, and even when we think we can't do it, we will do it. Even when we think, how can I do it? There's no hope. Torah's been destroyed. I can't do it. I can't learn. I can't. Chas v'sholem. That's Darcha Shel Torah. We have Yeridas, and then we have Aliyahs. Sheva Yipo Tzadik V'kam. That's Lag BaOmer. And every Lag BaOmer, we go out, we light a Gavaldik fire, that ur shines through to every single one of us. Mitzvah Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the siyata d'shmaya to be strong, to be courageous, to keep fighting for our learning, for our connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, for our gevaldige mishpachas, for our children. Mitzvah Hashem, we are the beginning. I say all the time, Rabbi, say every single one of you is the beginning of a dynasty, a whole freaking dynasty. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, Mitzvah Hashem. We should all be Zeichem, Mitzvah Hashem. Again, we should get together in Eretz Yisrael. You guys, when you come back to Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach Tzidkenu, you'll stop by Neveh on the way, on the road. Mitzvah Hashem, pick us up, and we should all be able to go together to the Beis HaMikdash, to the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, B'mheira v'yomeinu, and Bias Mashiach, B'mheira v'yomeinu, Amen.
Gewaltig. I'm sure everyone out there is truly enjoying it. I know all the other Rebbeim that are listening to the other Rebbeim are enjoying it. I want to just make a couple of kind of a business announcements. Rabbi Falk, Rabbi Feldman, Rabbi Falk, and Rabbi Slavin, and then the Mash are all going to be speaking, and all also are open for questioning, but we just couldn't figure out a way of getting everybody to speak and also have an opportunity for questions too. So there's going to be, we posted Rabbi Feldman's email, and Joey just posted Rabbi Falk's email. So anybody has any for whatever reason wants to be in touch with any of the Rebbeim, ask their questions, want to schmooze, having difficulties with Hashem, wants to share simchas with Hashem, please feel free. And of course, you can always be in touch with the yeshiva, to any of the Rebbeim. The other way of doing it is there's now this growing WhatsApp group that Joey's going to post. I don't know right now, but at some point he's going to post. You should please feel free to join it. And this way you can be in contact with the Rebbeim. That's another way. And another thing that will be on that WhatsApp group is hopefully Rabbi Slavin will be giving a daily class on Avos Chesed from Chavetz Chaim, and Hashem, that also will be posted. Before I asked Rabbi Slavin to say a few words, I just want to mention one thought that I wanted to share that to me is something that I never saw, but I think it always bothered me, and I think it represents something that talks to me about Neveh, particularly about the Mashiach Shlita. One thing I always wanted is, Rebbe Shimon, it's huge. Like this year, obviously, it's going to be subdued. When was Rebbe Akiva's Yortzeit? When is Rebbe Akiva's Yortzeit? Maybe somebody here, but Rabbi Slavin knows, because Rabbi Slavin knows about these delicate things. But Lamaisa, nobody knows the Rebbe Akiva's Yortzeit. I mean, who goes to Rebbe Akiva for his Yortzeit? I'm sure that people, it's one of these, luchos, a luach somewhere that where it is. Yeah, I see Baruch Hashem that Joey just posted to the WhatsApp group. I always wondered, where's Rebbe Akiva's Yortzeit? So, and why is Rebbe Shimon get such a big day, and where Rebbe Akiva the Rebbe doesn't get anything? So I think that's the Gevalt. I think that's the Nakuda. That's the point of a great Rebbe, that he doesn't take anything for himself. he gives it over to his Talmidim can become great. The Mashgiach, it's Hashem leading the ship, the other Rebbeim, how they care totally for the Talmidim, what exactly they need. They don't know, you don't know. It's for about the Talmidim. We want the Rebbe Shimons, we want the Talmidim, we want the Rebbe Lozer, the Rebbe Yehudas, that all of you guys should be Matzliach. Anyway, we're excited again. We had last time the Rabbi Slavin, and hopefully again we get to have a wonderful opportunity. Again, I just want to say that in terms of questions, we won't be able to take questions until we get to the Mashgiach, and even the questions then we'll have to ask you to write them in. If anybody at this point wants to write in questions on the chat, you're more than welcome to. We're going to be waiting on the questions, not with Rabbi Slavin, but we'll leave those questions until the end. Rabbi Slavin, please.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem. It's always such a thrill to see these amazing neshamas. It brings such simcha. You know, it's Rabbi Falk, after Rabbi Feldman, Rabbi Falk, I don't know how I could dare speak. So I guess I'll be a buffer until the Mash speaks. So, but in the meantime, I just thought, you know, we're standing here, we're already here in Eretz Yisrael. I've counted 32 nights. And, you know, 32 nights, you know, Rabbi Falk had this question, the Omer should be a time of simcha. So the Bnei Yissaschar says it's an interesting thing, there's a shift happening. That the Bnei Yissaschar said that if you look in the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had 5 Talmidim, and he told them to go out and find what is a derech yeshara she'avar lo adam, what is a great path in life that a person should strive to live. I'm not going to go through the whole Mishnah, but basically one says an ayin tov, one says a chaver tov, a shachan tov, a roes hanoilad, and then Rav Shimon Elazar ben Arach says a leiv tov. And the Rebbe says, you know, I find Rav Elazar ben Arach, a leiv tov is the ultimate because mitov dvarav, in his idea of a leiv tov, it incorporates everything else that was mentioned by all the other Tanaim. So the Bnei Yissaschar says it's a fascinating thing. Where did they go to look to find, you know, what is the derech tov? They obviously looked in Chumash. And so they went and they all surrounded themselves by the word, the first time the word tov appears in the Torah, because the first time a word appears in the Torah, we know from the Svarim HaKadoshim that the first time something appears in the Torah, that is the paradigm, the ultimate example of that musag, that concept. And therefore, where do we see tov? It's Vayar Elokim Ha'or Ki Tov, and Hashem saw the light that it was good. And they go into many different ways of understanding it. And basically, I'm really cutting to the chase. And he says that if you look that in the days of Sfiras HaOmer, the first 32 days is a real time that a person is developing his heart and is the idea of the hashgacha pratis, that this whole time of Avelus falls during a time where it would be antithetical, like Rabbi Falk mentioned, but it's a time when a person could focus on the avodah of coming close to Klal Yisrael and Hashem through contemplation and seriousness. And therefore, usually, not everybody, but most people have the minhag, the first part of the Sfira, and they do that avodah in the 32 days to really get in touch with their heart. And this crazy hashgacha pratis that this whole lockdown and isolation and davening at home, davening by ourselves. I mean, Rabbi Chalaf said the other night, you know, who came up with the idea of a minyan? You know, there's such an amazing idea that a person can attain such closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu vis-a-vis his learning and vis-a-vis his own interpersonal davening. That's such a beautiful way of connecting. So, but it's so hard to think that sometimes you gain so much, but then there's another time we have to break out of that. There's a time that we use that to develop ourselves, and then we got to re-enter. And that's what the 33rd day of the Omer is. The first 32 days is the Leiv, and then the next 17 days of the Omer is Gematria Tov. Leiv is Gematria 32, and Tov is 17. So that's where we are at this juncture. We in Eretz Yisrael are at the 32nd night, waiting for tomorrow night when the Tov starts, and we'll start singing and dancing, and start serving the Kodesh Baruch Hu with a different facet of the avoda. I'm not so sure how many of you can relate to this, but I was zoche to go up with Rav Friedlander, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, for nearly 30 some odd years straight. I think from 1986 till I think 2016, I think we went up together. I think except for one time, we went up to Meron. And it's so hard not to go up. And it's very hard to go up without a Friedland in general, but not going up to Meron, it seems such a difficult thing. It was an avoda, you'd prepare yourself, you try to understand that I'm going up. As a matter of fact, it seems to be in the Zohar Kodesh itself, it says, Sholosh Pamim B'Shana Yirei Kol Tzchurcha as Pnei Adon Hashem. Why does it say Pnei Adon Hashem? And Rav Shimon Bar Yochai didn't write about himself, but his Talmidim who were Mechaber the Zohar said that is to be Mekabel Rav Shimon. There's an idea of going up 3 times a year to Meron. I don't know who does that, but Lefi Zohar, that's the way to do it. But either which way, the idea is almost, it always, when just thinking about how many throngs of people are going to Meron in a regular year in order to try to connect to the tzaddik who, according to Chazal in the Gemara, it says, Kedayu Rav Shimon lismach alav b'shas chak. Rav Shimon, you could rely upon him at a time of great need. That's a artistic license there, but or a Hasidic license. But they also say that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai himself says, Yochel ani liftoras kol ha'olam min adin. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai says, I could get everybody off the hook from a din. So that's people want to connect to Rav Shimon Bar Yochai because he has such a power to help everybody. So, and the part of it is that, again, this is things that Rabbi Feldman could probably explain in better detail, that it says that the sphera that Lag BaOmer falls out on is known as Hod Shebahod. And Hod Shebahod, according to what I understood, is the most distant sphera of all the whole system. In other words, even though we usually look at Yesod and Malchus, for those of you who understand, I don't understand exactly, but Yesod and Malchus seem to be lower down, but really Hod extends the farthest. And therefore, what that tells us is that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai's his galus, his whole revelation, his whole simcha is happening at the time to reach the farthest people, the Yiddim who are so far away, who think that there's no hope for them. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he lights up the light. That's why there's a minhag to light a fire on Lag BaOmer, is to say that even in the darkness, that fire of the beauty of Torah, Bechlal, and Befrat Rav Shimon's Torah, has an ability to reach the people who are the farthest away. And that's really, I think, especially for me, going to Neveh, having felt a great part of my youth being far away, that the light of Torah and the light of the closeness of some people, great people reaching out to us. We were zocheh to have many Gdolim come to visit us in yeshiva. And you see people who's, I think like the Mash, who could have had a career in Harvard or Yale or whichever place that he refused their acceptance. People could have been in different places and done different things, but they decided to invest in us. And I think that's something so beautiful, that part of the camaraderie about Neveh is that we all could relate to, most of us, I think, could relate to being far away and that feeling that somebody cares about us and somebody wants us. And we're not, we're not negligible. Nobody can write us off. And so I think that this time on this year, though, is a very strange thing. We don't have that ability to kind of like go up and make the quote unquote pilgrimage to Meron, Lag BaOmer. They locked the roads, they closed the roads off miles before Meron. And even if you have a card saying that you live there, they already told people a week or two beforehand that prepare to be in lockdown. The people that live in Meron, if you go out, you can't come back already since before Shabbos. So nobody could go in there with a card saying, I live here. I'm sorry, you were warned. Nobody could go. Only the people who snuck in beforehand and they went there we're zocha to be there ahead of time, but it's such a strange thing. So Rabbi Falk had mentioned in one of the shiurim he gave the other day that where a person's thoughts are, that's where you are. That's where you really are. And Rav Shalom Shodron, when he used to come to Neveh, he spent Shabbos in Neveh a couple times. But Rav Shalom Shodron said that in the Beis Hamikdash, I think for those of you who learned Tamid, we know that if you're facing into the Beis Hamikdash as if you're in the Beis Hamikdash, you're facing out, there's certain areas that could have been going either way. But it depends where you're looking, what you're looking towards, what you're looking forward to. So if we're looking forward and looking towards being connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael, and know that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai is offering us that ability, that he is extending himself out to even us people who may feel that we're so far away, and we still matter. And I think that that's that even if I can't be in Meron, I'm not suggesting you should create a golem, but it might be kedai to learn a shtickle Zohar and open up a Zohar. If anybody wants, maybe we could arrange a Zoom, a Lag BaOmer afternoon for you guys, and we'll learn a shtick Zohar if the mash lets. But the idea is something that they actually say that the day that Rav Shimon Bar Yochai passed away, the sun didn't set until he finished revealing his secrets. It sounds, the Zohar says that the sun should have set hours beforehand, but it kind of like what happened to Yeshua and Nakdim and Ben Gurion, that the sun stood still. The sun stood still also for Rav Shimon. And so there's a certain nekuda there, that there's a certain eternality, the eternal koach of a person wanting to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that they have that opportunity. And like we mentioned on about people who learned about Pesach Sheni, a special gate opens up on Pesach Sheni that lasts all the way, the entire week of Hod, this week that started on Thursday night, and it will last to this coming Thursday night. And this is that time that Hashem says, for the people who felt that they missed out, this is the makeup time. And one of the tzaddikim, Rav Melech Biederman, he says beautiful Torah, and he says that there's a person who becomes tamei and then becomes tahar has an advantage of a person who never became tamei. How does that? And he says because a person who never became tamei, the Torah doesn't say anything about him. But the person who became tamei and now he's tahar, it says that he is the tahar and he is pure. Whereas the person who never became tamei, it doesn't say anything about him. So this is something that we should understand, that we have these opportunities to purify ourselves and to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us tzaddikim in every generation to give us in each person according to his flavor and his taste, to find a way to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and a way to connect to Klal Yisrael. And that's probably also another reason before Shavuos, where we want the ultimate connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have the period of Sfiras Omer. We have to work on Beinam L'Chavero, and you can't have one without the other. And so this is something that B'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be mezaka all of us to reach out and put our minds and think about if we were, what we would do to travel to Meron, and think about, I'd be trying to fight for a seat on a bus, chas v'shalom, to fight, to organize a seat on the bus, and to prepare food, Seder l'derech, food for the way that I should be able to take stuff with me and prepare stuff to learn on the way, and what to daven for there. In years gone by, we had lists of names. I have on my computer lists of a couple hundred names. Maybe if Rabbi after will put up my email, if somebody wants to send me a name. I don't think my body will be in Meron, but my head will be in Meron, and will B'ezrat Hashem daven for anybody who wants to be davened for. Send your name and your mother's name. If you have a specific request or something, we'll try to daven for as many people as we can. And B'ezrat Hashem, we'll all be united in some way with our focus on trying to come close to Hashem, and that we reach out to Hashem to help us from all the tzaros that we have. And Rav Shimon is one of those people who the Talmud says we could rely on him when we have extreme needs. Hashem should help us all that we should have achdus together, and we should have achdus with each other and achdus with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. And that'll help us bring us to the Bias Goel Tzedek B'Meher V'Yameinu. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Slavin. In terms of the things that you said that you don't really know, but Rabbi Feldman knows, on the chat, there's a lot of questions that some of the Talmidim have, the alumni have, if that exactly is true. We're not going to get into that topic right now, but there was a little bit of that. We're supposed to have full emunah in our rebbeim, but sometimes the emunah is saying that they don't really know. They don't have full emunah in that. Anyway, Rabbi Slavin's contact information is over here in the chat. Everybody should feel free to send their tefillah requests, anything they want to know about Zohar Kodesh, about Sefer Yetzirah, about any of those things. Rabbi Slavin is clearly the address, and it's all right. Sorry, I don't want to Gala Tefach. Anyway, I just want to say in terms of, but the phrase that I thought that Rabbi Slavin was maybe going to say is Lo Yidach Mimenu Nidach. Nobody gets pushed away in Hod. And the Maisa, if there's any time you could, just going through the names, looking through people, just kind of looking who's here and see all the years they come together. It's just, it's mamish Lo Yidach Mimenu Nidach. It's like a beautiful thing to see Neveh as like a Ze'er Anpin, a little bit of a hint to like this whole experience of seeing what it's like that everybody can be included. Everybody's included in the light of Rabbi Shimon. Everybody's included the light of the Mashgiach, the day. Anyway, so in terms of, thank you, Rabbi Slavin. Mashgiach is going to Hashem address us for however long he is planning on addressing us. Basically, let me just give you the general schedule. Rash is scheduled for about a half hour, either to speak or to speak with questions. We found it easier, we think, after the last time. It's easier if anybody has questions, feel free to be asking them, but please send me the questions, because it gets a little too confusing to switch it back and forth. And then, so if there'll be any questions, please send it to me. I will, at some point, if the Mash opens it up for questions, I'll present the questions to the Mashgiach. After the 10 o'clock, we're going now for a half hour. If anybody wants to stay afterward, I have no doubt that the Mashgiach and all the other rebbeim will be, that are presently still, that are still around. I'm sure we'll be fine about staying, answering questions to shmooze. But it's really for a half hour, but then we'll kind of like be more relaxed in terms of the Neveh thing, and then we could open it up a little bit more to your questions and to other discussions. We really appreciate everybody involved, and also a special shout out and thanks for Alex McGalley for a contribution towards the Zoom chizuk that we're trying to give into Zoom shirim. So Mr. Sham Shabbat Bracha. He and his whole family. I should mention that my wife was involved in shidduch over there. So just in case Rabbi Slavin didn't know that, but Mr. Sham, a lot of nachas for everyone, and Mashgiach, we're all waiting to hear your words.
Okay, I just have to say, I'm thrilled. I'm very much besimcha to see all the faces. I didn't see everybody, and somehow my phone, I don't know, but I see names of so many people and so many of the alumni, and it gives us such a chizuk that you're still with us. And as I said the last time that we met, you think that we are doing this because of you. We are, but we're also doing it to give ourselves a chizuk. And when I think that tomorrow night I can't go to Meron, I can't get on the bus, and like Rabbi Slavin so many times it was, Rabbi Friedlander said so. That's a difficult thing, but we know that Hashem is doing it for us, and that there's a reason we don't understand why, but whatever it is, we know it's for our own benefit, and we hope it has to do with the Tchias and Mesa, with Rav Shimon coming back to us. I want to speak a little bit about Lag BaOmer itself. I want to speak a little bit about the whole story. I once had, I was learning with some boys before going up to Meron. We had a campfire, we had a bonfire, and we were talking, and I had this idea, and then later on we packed up and went up to Meron itself. And it says on Gemara Shabbos, this is the only Mar Makomos, this is the only daf that I remember where it is, right? Otherwise, I'd have to rely on Landi, or right. But it says on Gemara Shabbos on daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, right? Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. It says, "Yes, Reb Yehuda, Reb Yossi, Reb Shimon, yes, Yehuda ben Gerim, Gabayu." Pasuk Reb Yehuda va'Omar. Kama no'im ma'aseh shel umazu. How majestic, how beautiful are the actions of this nation. He's talking about the Romans, and the Romans were then the governors of they were the authorities of Eretz Yisrael, and they were not too good to us. But he gave them compliments. Tiknu Shukim, they made these beautiful marketplaces, these Ginayon, right? Tiknu Gesharim, they made bridges. Tiknu Marchasos, and they made bathhouses. Rabbi Yossi was there. Shasak, he was silent. I guess he wasn't too happy with what Yehuda said, but he was silent. Then Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and the Rashbi said, "Vomar, Kol Masha Tiknu Lo Tiknu Ella Litzarech Atzmam." Whatever they did it for their own selves. Gesharim, the bridges, Lito Behem Neches, to take money from it. Right? I'm sorry, I took a skip. Tiknu Shukim, they made these marketplaces. They made these what's it called? The malls. They made the big malls, Lahishi Behem Zonas, so that they can have the prostitutes there. Marchetzos, they made the bathhouses, Ladon Behem Atzmam, to adorn themselves. They did it for themselves. Okay. Halach Yehuda ben Gerim. So Yehuda ben Gerim went, and Vesipa Devrehem, and he told it over either to his family or to he told it over to somebody. And when he was telling it over, somebody heard it, and they went to the authorities. Right? They went to the authorities, and it was heard that the Nishma'u the Malchus heard about it. The Romans heard about it. Omar Yehuda She'ela Yisala, Yehuda should be the speaker in all times, the first to speak, right? He should get praised. Rabbi Yossi Sheshasa was silent. He has to go into Gullus to Tzipori. Shimon Shagina, and Shimon that said bad against us, Yaharog, he's Chayav Misa. And therefore Shimon Bar Yochai had to flee. He first hid in the Beit Knesset, eventually had to flee to the cave, and we know the story. I have a question. I have a simple question, right? Why did Rav Shimon Bar Yochai have to say something? Why did he have to? Okay, he was upset, and it was wrong. It was sheker, but why did he have to say something? The danger should have been obvious. The Romans were no friends. If they would hear about, he should have been more careful. He should have been silent, and nothing would have happened. Reb Shimon felt he had to speak. Why did he have to speak? So I ask you, by the way, Rabbi Slavin asked if he could give a shir on the Zohar on Lag BaOmer. If a shir could be given on the Zohar Lag BaOmer, and my answer is yes, if you give it. If Rabbi Slavin gives it, the shir can be given. Yes. Why did Rav Shimon, he felt compelled. He couldn't be silent because Rav Shimon was the epitome, the essence of emes. And he couldn't stand sheker. That was his essence. And that's why when the Ramban quotes the Zohar, the Ramban quotes Divrei Kabbalah, he says Divrei Emes. Right? The Zohar is the panemius of the Torah. The Torah is Emes. Like Achtov is Emes. And the Zohar is the panemius of the Torah. The Emes. Reb Shimon was the essence of Emes. And when it's the person himself, he can't remain silent. And that was the godless of Reb Shimon, because he couldn't remain silent. And I want to tell you something. I want to give you another example where it was the essence of the person. Another example. It says, everybody asks a question by Leah, right? Leah called her fourth child Yehuda, right? She gave thanks to Hashem. So what about the first three? She didn't give thanks to Hashem. The Gemara says Leah was the first one to give Hodoya. Number one, that's also hard to understand. How is she the first one to give Hodoya? What, Adam Arishon didn't thank Hashem, right? Toiv l'hodos LaHashem, right? How could that be? Avram Avinu didn't thank Hashem. How was she the first one to give thanks, to give Hodoya? But that's what it means. It means everybody thanked Hashem. But Leah, that was her essence. When she got more than her portion, her essence became Hodoya. That became her very being. And it's a Medrash Rabbah. It's a Medrash Rabbah that says Leah Tovsa Plach Hodoya. Leah chose the worship, the avodah of giving thanks. And those who came from her, same her essence, that her children, her descendants had the midah of Hodoya. Yehuda. Because Hodoya means Baldin also. It's the same shorish. It's a whole shir, but I'll not give it now. David, Hodu Lashem Ki Tov. Daniel says, Lach Allah ha Avahasav Mahoda Mishabech Ano Rachel Tafsa, and then Rachel took the plach of Shtika. That's also a whole shir by itself. But Leah took the Vaida of Hodoya that became her essence self, so much of herself that it went into her genes, and her descendants also had Hodoya, right? So today, this Lag BaOmer, the essence is that of emistic, of truth. And where do we start trying to achieve the midah of emes? By being emes with ourselves, by being true with ourselves, by understanding where we are, understanding who we are, and trying to connect with Hashem. And the Torah is emes. I mean, that's the importance of Lag BaOmer. That's why it's so pivotal in our Avodas Hashem. And that's why we have to find the strength in ourselves. We don't understand what is happening, but we know it's for our own benefit, right? I gave out that small paragraph that everybody should say every day. Hashem, this is difficult for me. This being separate from everybody else, not being able to connect, this is hurting me. I can't get, I can't, some of us don't have a minyan, some of us have a minyan, but don't have the aliyahs we usually have. We can't go to the mikvah. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. At the same time, Hashem, we know there has to be a reason for it. And we know as difficult it is for us, it's more difficult for you because you feel like a tati feels towards his son, like an Abba feels towards his son. If it hurts us, it hurts you much more. So we know that you must be doing it for a reason, and the reason, if it's your reason, then it's a good reason, and it's for our ultimate benefit. And Hashem, we know it's for our ultimate benefit, and therefore we're going to be besimcha. We're going to be simcha, and when it comes to Lag Bomer, we're going to have the same simcha and the same song and the same tfekas in Hashem and the same search for the emes in ourselves and the world about us. I'd like to open it up now to questions, and I don't know exactly how this is going to work, but Rabbi Harlip, take over.
Okay, so Mashkiach, I think that we're going to try to do it, at least for the meantime. If we see that if it works, we'll do it this way. If not, we might need to open it up if the guys really want. But at least for the meantime, I've got two questions. One, I hope you don't mind me asking David. There's a wonderful question. And the question is that we know that between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that's when we daven with Hashem for life, and everything is determined at that time. So is there any reason to believe, there's two halves to this question. First of all, is there any reason to believe that that will change because of the virus? If Lamaisa it's been determined, it's been determined. That's on one side. And if it can be changed, so then what would a person do to change it?
I'm not sure.
Again, let me just say it again. Everything's determined in Yom Kippur. If everything's determined in Yom Kippur, does it make any difference in terms of like that? Whether does he have to be careful about the virus, not be careful about the virus? It was determined. That's one. That's the first half, right? And if let's assuming that there is something to be done that maybe even though it was determined, but we still have free choice. And then the question is, what should we do to try to change that Gazar Din Lo Aleinu even now? So first of all, can it be changed? And maybe it can't be changed. Maybe whatever was done is done, and he doesn't make a difference. He doesn't have to be careful. He doesn't have to be watching out, because whatever was decreed, that was what was decreed. And if that's not the correct way of approaching it, then we really should be careful, or we really should be doing more. What, in fact, should we be doing to increase our chances of good life and good health?
The way I understand it is that there's certain klalios gezeras, right, that are decided on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur on the din, and these are in terms of midas adin, right? So judgments. There's certain things which are decided. However, these things themselves can be accomplished or brought about or achieved, right? The din aspect of it by many different ways. And it didn't have to be through this way necessarily. It was Hashem's decision that it had to be this way. And that probably was definitely affected by our choice. And just like that was affected by the choices that we made or didn't make. So now the way we relate to it and where we respond to it, that also will change things. And therefore the answer 100% that everything we think and do and daven and try to accomplish is going to make a difference. It definitely always makes a difference. And therefore we have to try to relate to it. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Another question that we had that came up is David Feder actually asked me a few days ago about what would be, a lot of us have had experiences of being home, being with our families, davening by ourselves, even though the general time period, especially people in New York and the States, it's been, obviously terribly difficult time period for everyone, for the Jewish people. But there's been a certain benefit being home. You get to daven slowly. You don't have to rush. You can be with you. There's a certain quality of life that people have had. And he was kind of bothered. What do we do now? It's Hashem. Hopefully soon we'll be able to go back out. We'll be able to rejoin our communities, our shuls. But it seems like there's a sense of a certain feeling of loss, that we're now losing an opportunity of connecting in a more private way. How do we balance those two things? the advantages of being in the private way, but knowing that we're going to have to go back into a public format, forum, and how do we not lose the connection that we got?
Very, very interesting question. I think we have to learn from the experience, and that if it brought us back closer to our family, we have to take out the time and be closer to our families. And if we learn to daven a little bit differently, because we were davening alone, right? So a person can daven alone with 1,000 people around him. It's just a mindset. It's a mindset. It's an attitude. And we have to take all the positive aspects of what we have gone through, right? I mean, we're hoping, we're asking Hashem, take us back. We want to be in the Beit Knesset. We want to be in the yeshivas. We want to once again to be able to connect. But there's certain positive things that we experience. We have to, when we make mistake, when that moment comes that we are free of this virus, then we have to ask ourselves, and we have to make a cheshbon nefesh. How can we learn from it and take the good things with us, like everything else in life? Everything else in life, every experience, we have to always take the good things with us and learn from them. And Mr. Hashem, you'll be able to, David, you'll be able to take the good things with you, and also to enjoy being together with everybody else. And sing a smile. Yes, the Zoom share and the alumni, we're going to continue, Mr. Hashem. That will continue.
Mashgiach, actually, I'm just curious. There is another question that came in. Do you have any suggestions, specific suggestions, in terms of how possible we could take those things with us? How can we? I mean, I have to tell you honestly, it's really something that I've said korbanos now for the first time in who knows how long, where I'm taking my time, whatever. But how do we? But there'll be a minion that we're going to need to go back with, and it's going to be a certain time. It's going to get to Shemon Esrei at a certain time. It's going to be. Do you have any specific suggestions about how, again, we should take it with us? Any specific suggestions how we might be able to do that?
We just gave one. Get earlier to davening and say korbanos. Easier said than done.
Kind of the Igris. Yeah. Okay. No, thank you. Now, one of the great things is that I always get the opportunity to know which foot I put in my mouth when I get to talk with you. So it's always appreciated. A question came up.
By the way, Rabbi Charlov, can you let us Zoom you tomorrow night? And maybe there's going to be 3 fires. There's going to be 3 medoros lit on Meron. Can everybody be a chance to see it tomorrow
I would
night?
love to do that, Mashgiach, but I happen to be. We have to go to Yerushalayim tomorrow. So I know Rabbi Slavin may not talk to me again for the next year, Chas v'Shalom, but but it happened to be that we have to take care of that. There's even like an Indian of getting somebody who's whatever, the police, he's in trouble with the police. I got a Neveh story going on, so I got to get back to Yerushalayim to take care of that. Anyway, I've got a nice Hasidic question for the Mashgiach that Ariel Goldman wants to ask. He said, it's a nice question. He said, on Pesach, we daven for Cheres, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, we daven for a good year, health, etc. Shavuos, we daven for Torah. What do we daven for on Lag BaOmer? What's the avoda? What's the tefillah? Lag BaOmer. I think it's a very nice question, and for the Chassidish Rosh Yeshiva, I think it's a perfect student question.
It's a beautiful question. It's a beautiful question. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, he was able to live his life totally immersed in connection to Hashem, right? He didn't even wear clothes except to daven. His whole life was a total closeness to Hashem and being a real Eved Hashem, right? And on Lag BaOmer, I like to daven, Bar Eilam, please give me the ability to be so focused and so connected and to Hashem, that I should be able also to separate in my own way, which is certainly nowhere near that of the Tana Alakai of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, but in my own little way to try to separate myself from the goof, from the materialism that keeps on getting us down, and to separate ourselves from that, and to be able to focus and to live in the ruchnius, the source of all life. That's what I have in front of over.
Beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, anybody should put it in. When I now had a few times over here, just logically, when the haircuts. When does everybody get to get a haircut? When does Rabbi Slavin trim his beard? That's one of the major questions that's been coming up over here.
When my wife wants it.
Okay, this answer.
All right.
He married at Tzaddik, so I don't think that's going to happen.
Somebody puts up with me, definitely.
The answer for me is I have, I believe, a 10 o'clock appointment for on Lag Bomer itself. That's my minhag. And I wasn't able to get, I was afraid of getting a haircut before Pesach. So I know you can't see it for Hashem, but it's, I push it, I push it. I'm waiting for that. I like Bomi people. There's Eretz Yisrael is different minhagim, but I don't want to give up psak. I'm not a posek, but not in the nighttime. Yeah, after Shachris. That's right. After Shachris, you can get a haircut and trim your beard, and then some keep it the sphere until before Shavuos, and then some it's over, and my minhag always with it's over because we need to sing on the trip to Poland. Who knows? There's going to be a trip to Poland, but I only kept it until Lag Bomer. That's my minhag. Everybody has their own minhag. Go ask your local posek. Yeah.
A question came up that there's a chizuk that we get on Shabbos. For example, we feel, sudas and singing and the family, whatever. And the weekday, especially davening, much harder. There are pressures. Obviously, we're still more in our homes. But how does one turn their avoda from Shabbos, which they feel they have time, they can focus? How do we do that on the weekday also, that our avoda is good? And honestly, I just want to, this wasn't put in there, but, we're trying to get chizuk. Honestly, I can tell you, I get chizuk from hearing Rabbi Feldman, Rabbi Falk, Rabbi Slavin, the Mashgiach, but day to day, how do we carry it over? How do we carry over the inspiration in general into the mundane?
Is any of the other Rebbeim still with us that we can let them say something? I don't have to say, is there any other Rebbeim? I can't see from my phone.
Rabbi Slavin raised his hand, so that means.
Okay.
I need to hear the question phrased again just to make sure. But in the meantime, just the idea of Sfiras HaOmer, that the cutting of the hair and listening to music don't necessarily come hand in hand. According to some opinions, you could listen to music after Lag Bomer and from Lag Bomer and onwards, but you could listen at night already, Lag Bomer night, but you wait till the morning to take the haircut. And also, according to Arizal, I think you could listen to music already from Lag Bomer at night, but haircuts wait till Erev Shavuos. But in regards to the question about Shabbos versus the weekday, I didn't chop exactly the question. I think I misunderstood it. What was it?
The specific question, Rabbi Slavin, was one of the guys said that he finds it easier davening on Shabbos. I assume that means he has a little more time. Whatever, it's Shabbos, but during the weekday, it's a little bit harder for him to focus, a little harder for him to feel motivated to daven, and he's not sure how to make that jump from, that he wants that the weekday also should be a time that he'd be able to daven, but he just finds it harder.
Well, if I could give my 2 cents here, Lamaisa davening has 2 aspects to it. there is an aspect where it's called avoda. And avoda sometimes means that I've got to do it even if I don't have that same gishmak. But if anybody who ever has people who work for him, and the people are doing the avoda, but they're begrudgingly doing the avoda, the boss doesn't appreciate the work that much. And if your employees whistle while they work and they're enjoying the avoda, so how much more so it's gishmak. So a person has to, like, especially if we're in bidud now, you know, sometimes a person could, especially now, you're on your own, you could bust out a nice dance and a song, choose a pasuk that you kind of, you're not in a rush now. Choose something you like and try to like really get into it and try to feel an appreciation of what the words are saying. And hopefully, when I grew up, some people say that never happened. I haven't grown up yet, but some people said, I used to watch these movies, Rodgers and Hammerstein. I'm really dating myself. Or these things, I don't know what's that called, Mary Poppins. Maybe some of the younger generations heard that. And they have all these scenes, or these people are walking in the street and all of a sudden they just burst out in a song. And as a kid, I was like, you know, it's very entertaining, but does anybody ever do that in real life? And then you start meeting tzaddikim who are so connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they start, like they hear a pasuk and they hear and the words really penetrate deep down inside. And once it's inside, they try to bring it out and express it, the gratitude of having the ability to be connected in that way, that they sing and dance. I know sometimes my kids like say, Tati, you know, it's embarrassing. You're walking the street and you're singing. And like, you know, I have to try to like keep the peace with the family, but you know, I don't always, wear this yarmulke, but, and, walking the street, but there's a certain geschmack a person has when a person able to express themselves. It frees a person sometimes, because a person sometimes feels so constrained and like, okay, the halacha says I have to be like standing with my arms like this and like shuckle like this. And if you shuckle like this, the halacha is supposed to give a framework, but it's not supposed to squelch us. It's supposed to make sure that we're keeping the halacha properly. There's enough room for freedom of expression that a person can, and if you don't feel that you could do it mamish, if you're in a minyan, people might say, shh, shh, shh. Okay, so, and achanami, we shouldn't disturb other people, but if you're able to express yourself, you don't have to do it in the framework of the actual davening. Sometimes you go outside and you're mepeset and just look at the beauty of Hashem's creation and try to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the most powerful things is just expressing yourself and talking to Hashem. So if you can't do it in the framework, we do have a job to do. Hopefully we can whistle while we work and have a geschmack. And if it's too hard, I would definitely suggest take either a paragraph of even Psukei D'Zimra of something and try to like really get connected to it. And try maybe even singing, again, while you're at home, it works a lot easier. And who knows, maybe when we all go back to shul, everybody's going to be singing. B'ezrat Hashem. B'mheira b'meinu. I don't know if that answered it. Whatever. It's a perspective.
We didn't get the niggin. We got the words. Anyway,
niggin.
I don't see any other questions that are coming up at this point. I'll tell you, if anybody wants to, like, I don't know Joey what he thinks about this, but maybe if we want to open it up, if anybody wants to actually ask a question, but if it doesn't get it's not that cool. No. You got to put that cool.
I mean, I had my grass put in last year.
No, Joey, put them. Certain people. Yeah. Okay. Just a second. Okay, fine. You have to know, not everybody deserves to be unmuted. We love everybody. Not everybody do we want to unmute. Everybody. silence is golden for like a certain age group in particular. I mean, I don't know if there's anybody else that wants to ask a question through me, or if they want to raise their hand, ask the question. Rabbi Folk is back. See, if you want to know how he doesn't lose his voice after all these years, you could ask him his personal tricks. One of the miracles of Neveh. Whatever. Listen, Joe, you can do what you want with this. I think that if the other wants to come on up and speak up, raise your hand, ask your question. I just want to thank everybody. I just want to thank the Mashgiach, Rabbi Falk, Rabbi Slavin, Rabbi Feldman, and all you guys for coming out. It's just really been, it's very special getting a chizuk for everybody, coming back together. Okay, I see. Yeah, we're going to individually mute. Thank you, David. If you have a question, throw it out.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Shalom Aleichem Chavra, holy brothers, holy family. I'm just putting it out there. We're one big family, Neveh. We're a family, and Baruch Hashem, we've been zochet to hear from our holy tzaddikim, our holy rebbeim, and I think it's a special time for us to come together and to reconnect and to really be there for each other and to reach out and to bring the Neveh family together. And just as a Neveh brother and as a Neveh friend, and first of all, I'm here for anyone, if anyone needs, but if we could just get this out there and let's get more shiurim, let's get more people involved. Each one of us probably has friends who are out there who could use a connection with the rebbeim, and who could use a reach out, or if each one of us could call someone that we know that's maybe struggling, and to reach out to them and to let them know that we are here for them, the rebbeim are here for them, and to try to bring the chavra together, especially in a time like this. Each one of us, we're all alone, but we're all together. And I just wanted to put this out as an alumni that I think it's our responsibility. It's not just, it's our responsibility for each other. So, l'chaim, yasher koach.
Okay. Fine. Let's see, am I talking? Yeah, I'm talking. Anyway, I'm going to leave it open. Everybody can just kind of schmooze, ask the Mashgiach. And we're looking forward to events. I'm going to, even though I didn't tell this one to suggest this one to the Mashgiach, I think we should have a pre-Shavuos event and probably just give some Divrei Chizuk right before Shavuos, Kabbalah Torah. And I don't know exactly the timing of that, but hopefully we'll have a little something before Shavuos comes for that. I don't know. We'll try to get cheesecake out to everybody. I don't know exactly. We'll have to, whatever. I think Chesney is on the, Chesney's like in charge of the all the cheesecake sending out. Anyway, thank you all, Rabosai, very much. Again, open up if you want to just discuss with anything with the Mashgiach, Rabbi Falk. But thank you all, and let's jump. Please sign up.
Can I just say something?
Yes, please, Mashgiach.
Yeah, I just want to say that I really would like to connect with anybody who would like to connect with me. And the thing is that it's probably not such a good time now, because my poor wife is waiting to eat supper, and it's now 10:15 over here in Israel, right? So you have a way to get in touch with me, and I'd be very happy if you leave me a good time to call you. I will call you. If you want to Zoom, I know that we want to do whatever we have to, so we can talk in WhatsApp and so forth. I'd be very happy to WhatsApp. And I want to thank everybody for Rabbi Harl. We have to thank you also, for narrating and and doing a wonderful job as always. And all the Rebbeim, and it's just been such a great time that I hope that we keep it going. Thank you. Yishkoyach.
Shkoyach.
Thank you, Mashke.
Спасибо. До свидания. From Russia.
Wow.
Yasher koyach, yasher koyach.
I thought the Neveh alumni were like crazy. Everybody's all quiet. What happened?
We're all mature now.
Let's go. Who was that? That was the guy like that. That's good. Let's get some energy out there.
We were on our best behavior.
Let's go. I want to hear it's crickets. Can't hear nothing.
We're just waiting for the mouse to leave the chat.
Okay.
No, we're not.
Right. Shalom, everybody. All the best.
Peace and love. Yes, your
Thank you, Joey. Thank
All
you,
the best,
Joey.
everyone.
Yo, after party.
Shalom Moshe Lieberman. Joey, are we having an after party? Are we staying on? Is that what's happening?
You guys can do whatever you want. You have 5 minutes.
I'm 50 years old. I still have to party.
Oh, I
Wow,
could change my name now.
Change it to Mosh.
Future Mosh.
That's respect.
You're very cute.
There's some big shoes, man. Big shoes.
Joe, you're absolutely tremendous. I just wanted to share that. You've been tremendous.
I don't know what you're talking
He's
about.
telling you you're putting on a little weight.
It's tremendous.
You've been great with the Zooms.